All right, welcome back to the Dave Knows Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, David Lee, and this is my very special guest. Welcome back to the show,
Luke Jackson.
That's right, Luke Jackson back again. So, last time Luke was here. Now, Luke is an amateur wrestling coach, and he does a fine job of it, if I may say. And he is also a recovering wrestling fan, pro wrestling fan from back in the day.
Yes.
And, but that's okay, because you still know you still know a little bit about a little bit, which is good. And now that we got you back on the show, the reason why we're here today, now, as many of you have figured out by now, it's Heels Month on Dave Knows Wrestling, all about the bad guys, all about the villains this month. And as you know, pro wrestling is littered with heels and bad guys, but it is not reserved to just the professional circuit. And there are a lot of cruel, evil tactics that are done in amateur wrestling. Now we're not saying we're condoning all of that, but that's exactly what I brought Luke in to discuss. So, Luke, off the top of your head, will you confirm that there is a lot of heelery, chicanery that gets sometimes done in the amateur wrestling circuit?
There absolutely is, Dave. There's a lot of positions that people can put you in and that you can put yourself in that can lead to some chicanery is a good way of putting it.
Right.
And even though there's a referee there and a referee that pays attention all of the time, there can still be some not so nice things going on inside the circle.
Humans are flawed, so not everyone can get away with everything, right?
It's true. That's very true.
Okay, so, well, all right. First things first, I guess let's just get this out the way. What is the number one, what would you say is the number one dirtiest tactic or, act of treason you've seen in the
So
ring?
I believe, and you may know, you will know better than I would, but there was a... I won't even go into it. But there was a set of brothers way back when, and they went to Michigan and wrestled in school. So I remember that. But they were very famous for the Crossface Cradle in.
Are you talking about the Steiner brothers?
Yes.
Yes,
right,
the Steiner brothers. Oh,
exactly.
Wow, they were dirty and amateur. Now, I don't know anything about their amateur career, so I'm totally down to hear about this.
Okay, so I don't know if they were. I couldn't. They were a little bit before my time,
Gotcha.
So I couldn't tell you that they were inherently dirty in amateur wrestling. But I do know that their move, the Crossface Cradle, is one of the. It's a totally legal move. But if you throw it, and I'll use a little bit of video help here. If you throw it from here, you're okay. If you throw it from here, you can really whack somebody across the face, across the chin, across the whatever. And if you involve your thumb bone right there,
the ridge hand.
That's actually a very legal way of making somebody feel your cross face even more. Really? From back here, it's illegal, but from right here, it's totally legal. And then you just kind of massage their cheek or their nose or their eye or their something. Once it's in there,
wow,
that's
that
is probably the number one.
Gotcha. Now they were both known for doing that in Michigan, as they say, Michigan.
That's right.
So they were both. So it wasn't just one of them.
No, that was both of their.
Yeah, because Scott Steiner's kind of known for being a little reckless and being a little more of the that kind of thing. So Rick seemed like the nicer one. So both of them did it. Wow, no kidding. So that's where their legend started. Okay, now last time you were on the show, you got to be here with Johnny Furman. So Johnny was here, and Johnny's a good friend of mine, and Johnny would tell me a lot of times of a tactic that he was familiar with, where you actually take the heel of your hand, and when you're going over, you actually, I shouldn't use the hand that I'm covering the mic with, but actually push your opponent's nose, just like, give a quick little swipe on the nose. Yeah. And he said it's not really done for any kind of, it's not really going to gain you much leverage, but it is going to throw your opponent off, get him angry. It's just a little like,
right, it's a little like, if you're, I don't know if you're a big brother or if you had a big brother but it's kind of a big brother tactic where you're just kind of you're not out to hurt anybody, you're not out, but you're just out enough to like almost not distract them, but maybe distract them enough where you can then go to something else, and you just prod and prickling and doing
Gotcha.
something of in that vein.
So you're familiar with that too?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
All right. So
Yes.
no, this is great because there are tons of these things, and no
Yeah.
one talks about an
Oh,
amateur.
yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
just thinks it's only for the pros. No, this kind of stuff happens in amateur
all
wrestling
the time. And you know what? When you're around the sport enough and you're screwing around in practice and it happens to you and you see it happen to somebody else and then you see it out on the mat like during actual competition. Yeah.
All right, so now we talked about the the Steiners and their reputation. Okay, so you got another one? You got another one you know of?
Yeah. Well, yes.
Okay.
So there are moves in wrestling where you'd be on a guy's leg.
Okay.
And trying to finish what's called a single leg, and you're kind of off to the side of the person, and they'll sprawl back. I know the last time we were talking,
Yes.
we were kind of talking about sprawls pretty good. So they'll sprawl back, and you'll kind of control their ankle. And at that point, I mean, I've seen people do this. Now, I was never necessarily strong enough to do it, but if you have a strong enough arm or wrist, and the referee is kind of on the other side of your bodies,
right.
you can kind of turn that ankle a little bit, and same thing with like almost like the nose. Like nobody's turning your ankle so that it hurts,
Right.
but it turns your ankle enough where you kind of feel it, and you don't think of, oh, let me defend what he's
Right.
doing. You think, ooh, my ankle hurts, and as soon as you think that. That guy gets you gets a takedown on you. So it's a little bit of a trick to kind of like kind of snake your, and like I said, I was never strong enough in my. I mean,
Right.
you can see I'm not a muscular guy at all, but you can kind of snake your hand down there and just kind of twist his ankle a little bit, and all you're looking for is to. Same thing Johnny was saying about his nose.
about the nose
Just
thing.
kind of take him off his game for a second, and in that second. Get your takedown.
Yeah, get
So,
your advantage. Get your advantage like that. So, since strength is a big thing of that maneuver, would you say that there's a chance, if he was the type, that Brock Lesnar might have done this?
I could see that. I can definitely see him doing something of that
Right.
nature.
We're not saying he did or not. We don't know. We're just saying maybe. Just saying if you were to do it, and you were
Especially
Brock
if you're
Lesnar.
listening, Brock.
Yeah, just saying if you wanted to, you could, and you would be
Exactly, right.
affected at it.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
Very effective.
Very, very effective.
Okay, all right. So, now you talk about the Steiners. Were there any other wrestlers, that have gone to the pros like Kurt Angle, or maybe Brock Lesnar that you know of that did certain tactics like that? Like, I know this is off topic for like Lennox Lewis, like as a boxer. I definitely know that he like kind of manipulates the rules a little bit. Step on people's feet a little bit.
Right.
And just kind of get away with it. And he's got a big name, but yet he does kind of play footloose and fancy free. No pun intended with that.
Right.
So, but yeah, do you know any other guys who've made it to big leagues who have kind of?
I can't say
Little
any.
dangerous.
I can't say specifically any other guys that I know of that
All right.
who I can
Right.
correlate a move to
Right.
that that is dirty or
Right.
known for being able to manipulate the situation.
Gotcha.
But
That's
I
fine.
will say
That's
this:
good.
that I would guess that if you asked anybody who was that famous or that good
Yeah.
and that strong, because it's funny, I was going to say this, strength has actually a lot to do with it, because it's nothing where you can you can't take two hands on a guy's ankle and twist it, because the referee,
Is
an
gonna see
amateur,
that,
is
yeah.
going to see that.
Right.
And not only that, in the amateur sport, there's not really that kind of time to be able to do that kind of thing. So most of the tactics, like I said, with the crossface and kind of rubbing in his face, with that sliding the hand down to his ankle, they kind of have to be done, in the shadows of the game. Like there's no, it's not right out there in the open. As far as having the time or the capabilities to do it. So you do need a good amount of strength just to pull off that type of maneuver and
Right.
be, for lack of a better word, be backhanded about it.
Okay, well, now that's an interesting point that spurs up for me is that not just from a physical strength level, but how about also for a size level? Does that give you a little extra coverage, for getting away with certain things if you're like a broader type of individual?
Yeah, absolutely. Huh. Like you can't as a let's say 106 pounder, which is the lowest weight, or I'll use 126 because that's the lowest weight in the college ranks. So as a 126 pounder, it's much, much harder to do it, not only because the people you're trying to do it on are faster, but there's more that the referee can see as the match is going on. If you are like you said, broader, stockier, more muscular, however you want to say it, person, then you can more easily hide what you are doing, whether it's on the mat or on your feet or, really anywhere, because there's, a little bit more mass to cover up what's going on.
Excellent. Okay, so that makes sense. So now it's like when we talk about this kind of stuff, it makes it seems that the inevitability of pro wrestling's theatricality seems more obvious because here we got the little guys are the good ones who don't cheat that much, but the big ones can get away with. I mean, that's like underdog movie stuff right there. Yeah. I mean, I know they don't wrestle each other, but I'm just saying.
Yes,
it's interesting.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
But I do want to get back to this. I do want to get back to the tactics and all that stuff like that. But I have a specific one I wanted to mention earlier. So another one that I heard from Johnny was that some guys like this is like a real dirty thing to do, and once again, it's not really going to give you. It's not going to help you get a win, but it's to throw your opponent off, and it's just a matter of pure disrespect. He said some people, when you're doing the initial starting positions, if you got the, I don't know what the upper one is, not the guy who's down, but the guy who's above him.
Okay, yeah, the offensive position.
Offensive position, that's what I meant. Yes, that's what I meant to say. So the offensive position sometimes will spit behind the guy and like on his ear, on the back of his ear. Oh, that's a new one? You haven't heard that one?
That's a new one. I've never, I don't think I've ever even seen that one.
Like, he just leans in real quick and just gives a quick like just in the back of the ear, so he spit on you, and that's all you know. Like, there's no real advantage to it. It's just a dirty thing to do.
Yeah,
just to get your guy.
I tell you what, it would throw me off, and
I'd be furious.
Yeah, I would. I've never seen or heard of. There's one, and I'm sure we'll get to it because if you don't bring it up, I will because it's the funniest one I've ever heard of until that one. Maybe even still, that's a pretty good one because it's in the vein of those other ones where it just is something real quick and short and mean.
Gets your point across. and the Smith thing, you're not going to get caught. I mean, you're really not. No one's going to know you did it other than that guy.
You can just say I was.
Once you're sweating, no one's gonna notice.
Blowing out air, and it just happened to land.
Wow. Okay, so I gotta know. So what were you gonna bring up?
Okay, so there's I think we talked about it last time because it was my favorite quote unquote offensive move, the front headlock.
Yes.
Where you have one hand will be on a guy's chin, and the other will be kind of fishing for his knee or his ankle, and sometimes even up in his butt.
Okay.
And there were more than a few guys that I know would use their thumb, and I don't know how many. I don't know what kind of family show you want to keep this at. So you tell me when to stop. But they would use their thumb for an extra little positioning on their opponent.
Like a bowling ball or like checking the oil?
Like checking the oil. Yeah, no, they would try and again, it's just something to get a little bit more leverage and not let their opponent get away. And they didn't do it all the time.
Right.
And I never did it. I will say that, and that is complete honesty. But
gotcha.
It was especially useful when your opponent wasn't wearing underwear.
Oh, I guess I've never thought about this whether or not wrestlers wear underwear underneath. I've never even thought about it.
It's personal preference.
Well, how do you know if they are or they're not?
Well, that's how. I mean, there's really no other way to, unless it's kind of obvious. You would never wear boxers because boxers do clump up and they get very uncomfortable. I never. I've seen some people wear it. I don't know how they do it. That's pretty obvious because they do clump up and you can kind of tell them. I was always a boxer briefs guy because it just felt more comfortable for me.
Okay.
But there were a couple of people in high school that I wrestled with that would go commando, and it was just a kind of a freedom thing.
Well, I don't have any confirmation of this one way or the other, but that reminds me. Is there any chance that people give like little wedgies or anything like that while wrestling? Is that a thing you can do?
You know what? Not wedgies are tough, just because the uniform is a one piece. Now, actually, this year they've changed. Now in high school.
Yeah.
Maybe in college, I don't know. But I know in high school they're allowing some, if you want one, to wear a two-piece uniform. So
like a bathing suit?
Yeah, like
no.
It's like a top that goes down to like here, has sleeves
for
to
men.
About here for men. Yeah, has sleeves to about here, a top that goes down and covers the belly button, I believe.
Okay.
And then splits. And then you have like workout shorts or compression shorts.
Well, forget about I mean stylistically, but for a function, would you ever do that? Like
no,
that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you volunteer to go?
Yeah,
for it?
I'm not sure, and it just leads to another dirty tactic as far as wedgies go. Right. So I don't know why you would want to do that kind of stuff, but
maybe you want a challenge.
No, it could be just another way of distracting your opponent with by wedgieing him.
Gotcha. Okay, so
but I do know about the checking the oil. That's that I can attest to.
That is a real thing. Now that's a funny thing because that exact phrase. Now that was wrestlers have mentioned, professional wrestlers have mentioned that's actually a thing that they do too.
Yeah.
As for some reason, so I know that's a thing that goes around. And from what I was told, a lot of wrestlers really had a big problem when Andre the Giant did it because
is that right?
Yeah, and well, first of all, are you going to say no? Like,
what are
you going to do to stop him? Like,
right, exactly.
It's Andre.
If Andre wants to, Andre is going to.
Yeah, it's like telling a bear to stop. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
But so now, finally, I want to get back to this. I definitely want to get back to this. So we've been talking about these tactics, and I'm learning a lot here. So, and as you know, real quick,
I even learned something.
Nice. So real quick, reset. Let everyone know where they could find more of you, more of the wonderful Luke Jackson.
You can find more of me on 10x10 Sports, the parlay with my buddies Matt Santos and Ryan Griffin. And on the Shorthanded Breakaway, which is brought to you by 10x10 Sports.
Excellent. And Ryan Griffin,
starting in July.
Now, Ryan Griffin, you'll definitely recognize him because Ryan was actually on a previous episode of my show.
Okay.
Yeah, a while ago. He was on an episode where we were talking about wrestlers that your favorite bad guys. He was on there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Guys you remember your first favorite bad guy when you were younger and then you grew up. And uncredited, a lot of people don't realize this, but there was an episode I did on injury and the boom mic hits me in the face. This is my segue to injury, and Ryan was actually the guy who got to hit me in the face with the boom mic. So real quick shout out to Ryan Griffin. He was actually
he's a good guy though.
Great guy. No, he's a great guy. He's a great guy. I'm just saying, Ryan, another friend of ours. So yes. So now back onto the subject. So I've been meaning to get back to this for a little bit now. So when it came to all these dirty tactics we're talking about, tell me the truth. Have you done any of these or any of these things that you personally have done?
I was the Crossface Cradle was not my go-to move on top, but it was one of my favorite moves if I can get it, and I definitely use the thumb in the face routine, especially it's just there's no other way to put it. It's just a dirty thing to do. And when I felt like, and there wasn't many of these occasions, so I took advantage of every single one of them. But
nice.
if I felt like I was, that much in control of the guy, then I would kind of stick it to him a little bit and make him feel, when I was on top of him and in a cross-face position. And you know what? Truthfully, it actually, as much as it's dirty and all those other things, it does help you to achieve what you're going after.
Gotcha.
It makes the guy wince up and kind of, allow him to be in a more susceptible position. So
Okay, so interestingly enough, so you never did it as like a desperation maneuver. You more did it when you were already on the,
right, exactly,
Right,
exactly.
okay.
Yeah, I would not
That's
use it to necessarily get out of any position, but I would use it as an extra.
Right. Keep the momentum going. Okay.
Exactly.
So now with this being said, I do have to ask one quick question before I ask my next question. But are there any defensive dirty tactics?
There are.
Yeah.
If you're in the defensive position, like the person quote unquote on bottom,
Yeah.
And the person has whatever hold on you they have. A lot of guys like a cross wrist. You can take. This is illegal.
Okay.
And the referee sees it. He's going to warn you, and then he'll take a point away. But if you want to grab two fingers and try and peel it off, it can hurt.
Yeah.
Like
that
that can help you there.
Ah.
You are only legally allowed to grab all four of his fingers so that you can't take one finger and twist it that way or this way or that way or whichever way, or two fingers or three fingers or whatever. You have to grab all four fingers.
Gotcha.
But there were times when you're getting dominated, on bot, where you're just like, I got to get out of here. But so you would kind of grab and then let it go, and grab and then let go, and then grab, and
let go.
You would really have to make sure that the referee didn't see it, because referees do a nice job of being out in front in positions where they can see that.
All right. I mean, I'm just saying that is something you could honestly do as a mistake. So I mean,
right. Which is why they give you. I mean, they give you a second. So if you're kind of on and off, by the fourth time they might figure out what you're doing.
Okay.
But yeah, you can do it. And actually, just kind of hurt myself here.
So you know how effective it is.
I gotta work my hand out now.
Okay. So now, with this being said, like you were saying, it is effective in certain aspects. All this, these tactics where we're talking about. So, all right. Well, here's the question then: should these moves just be made legal? And if not, why? That's
right. So there are the finger thing. They can't make legal, because that
you can probably break
very that can lead to injury if they allow you to hang on there for more than 2 or 3 seconds. So that's not one of them. The crossface one, I mean, like I said, it's really not illegal. Like if you're really digging into somebody for more than 5 or 6 or 10 seconds, then they might call you for being unsportsmanlike.
Okay.
But there's nothing inherently illegal about it, unless, like I said, you throw it from all the way back here, which is more like a punch anyway.
True.
Which they would call you for unsportsmanlike at that point, not necessarily for an illegal. I mean, it's an illegal crossface, but it's more unsportsmanlike than anything else.
I hear you.
And then, checking the oil isn't illegal.
Oh, so
I mean,
most of these things aren't illegal. Well,
yeah, they're not illegal. They're illegal if you do it, for more than the allotted the allotted time.
Well, here's the question: should they be allowed to be done completely, or
And then it's also the problem. The bigger issue is some referees see it and call it right away, and some referees, and mostly the veteran referees, will let you kind of go with it.
Gotcha.
So that's probably the biggest concern, I guess.
Well, then the question is, why
by
are
governing bodies
Gotcha.
as far as making it legal?
Well, the question is, why are they so frowned upon then? I mean, I mean, don't get me wrong. I get the logic.
Yes, you're right.
I get the logic, but if they are
It's
perfectly legal and if you're within your rights to do it, should they even be considered dirty? I mean, are they really even all that bad to look at it that way?
Right. So,
in your opinion,
perspective is a I don't know what the saying is, but perspective is a great storyteller, or perspective is a great teller of something. There's a smart phrase out there that I can't think of because I'm not that smart. But it's all about perspective. If you're the guy doing it, it doesn't seem that bad. If you're the guy getting it done to you, then you want to make it illegal in the next 4 seconds.
Gotcha.
So it's a delicate balance of making it totally legal and allowing guys to run rampant with it versus keeping it within rationale,
Gotcha.
I guess you can say. So that they can't make it totally. So to answer your question a little bit more succinctly, they can't make it totally legal because if they did, they would allow people to get very, very dirty with them, as opposed to just kind of here and there.
Flirting on
with
the
it.
edge
Yeah.
is fine, but it's too effective that it might be over dominating and change the dynamic of the sport completely.
Absolutely correct.
And I think you're plenty smart, by the way. Just to check that.
So you're the one.
All right. So now my takeaway from this, now that I'm learning about it, is that it almost seems that not just with everything in wrestling or grappling, it's about weighing and getting the balance down. And it seems that even these tactics and, pure, clean sportsman conduct and all that, that's another delicate interplay that gets juggled back and forth, just like everything in wrestling is about switching out the dynamic and playing an equal balance of everything. So it seems that this is just yet another thing that goes right into where wrestling is all about. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So I find that fascinating. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing that I think is really cool about it. And it's yet again something else that goes from the amateur level to the professional level, where even though they're completely different animals, not even really the same thing, they still have so much in common. And this is something that gets done in the pro level too.
Yeah. It's amazing. Guys that grow up in and around it, and kind of have experience, I guess is the best word for it, experience with it, are more apt to do it, I would say, or at least more apt to teach it to guys who are coming up professional wrestling ranks that don't necessarily have an amateur wrestling background.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, experience. There is no substitute for experience, is there?
That's exactly right.
All right. So this has been a fascinating episode. But now, one more time, Luke, I would like you to tell everyone where they can find you, because I definitely want the people to know that, hey, they want more great information from Luke Jackson, and also more things than outside of just wrestling, your other sports information, your other sports shows. Let them know where they can find more of you.
Yeah. So I do it's 10x10 Sports. And starting in July, we'll be posting on various Twitter, YouTube, that sort of thing. It's the Parlay, which is me, Matt, and Ryan discussing every sport. And then I do a hockey podcast sponsored by 10x10 Radio called The Shorthanded Breakaway.
Excellent. So definitely check out Luke Jackson.
And for the record,
yes.
my first bad guy that I loved was a Big Boss Man.
Nice.
In case you guys out there are wondering.
Well, since Ryan's younger than us, so Ryan's answer was a little newer.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
It made me feel. Oh, man. All right, so thank you very much for that, Big Boss Man. Good answer. And hey, Luke Jackson, great having you on the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Always a pleasure being here, David.
Excellent. Okay, so as always, thank you, and thank you for listening. And this has been the Dave Knows Wrestling Podcast.